The higher-than-expected inflation was driven mainly by transport costs, food and utilities. Transport increased by 16.8% year-on-year. This comes on the back of continued fuel price hikes as a result of higher oil prices. The petrol price went up by 75 cents per litre in December, pushing a litre of petrol in Gauteng to 20.29 rand. Food price inflation remains elevated, and experts say the recent excessive rains resulted in crop damage and delayed planting, posing an upward risk for food price inflation going forward.
We saw a lot of pressure coming through on core inflation. We saw some pressure from fuel inflation as well, and a little less pressure from food inflation. So on the core inflation side, and that's where public transportation lies, we did see core inflation posting 3.4% year on year. And in addition to the elevated public transportation costs, we also saw the housing number coming through in December. So we're continuing to see a normalization in some of these inflation subcategories, such as housing, restaurants and hotels. Public transportation is elevated on understandably elevated fuel price inflation. And we also expecting to see a little bit of pressure coming through on the medical insurance inflation side.
The 5.9% December inflation puts the average annual inflation for 2021 at 4.5%, in line with the Reserve Bank's expectations. The central bank expects inflation for this year to average 4.3%. If granted, Eskom's request for a 20.5% tariff increase poses a risk to inflation going forward.
If they get it, it means we are going to see headline inflation likely piercing through the 6% upper target range for the SAB, which will then prompt the SAB to aggressively hike interest rate relative to what is expected currently. Their own models say 4 times this year of 25 basis points each, which means 1 each quarter. If we see both the oil price but also Eskom being granted at 20%, it means we are going to have a risk of even further hikes this year, which means higher debt costs for those that have home loans, vehicle installments, but also credit cards. That is going to increase in terms of the repayment.
Meanwhile, retail trade sales increased by 3.3% in November, up from 1.9% in October. Economists say Black Friday specials in November and less strict lockdown restrictions helped boost sales in the month. Gloria Sefako Mosi, SABC News, Johannesburg.